The D.C. Court of Appeals made a big decision today saying that one of Donald Trump's lawyers has to actually appear before them and testify with regards to the case of those documents that were found at Mar-a-Lago. Now, you might say, I don't see what the big deal is. Actually, it's a pretty big deal for federal judges to say that the attorney-client privilege between a lawyer and his client has been pierced because the DOJ has said that Trump's lawyers were aware that what he was doing was criminally wrong. Robert Patillo, this is a hell of a decision, and it's not a common one. In fact, what was interesting last night, they literally gave both sides until midnight to comply and said, we're going to be deciding this tomorrow. And this wasn't just one federal judge. This was a 3-judge panel of arguably the second most important federal court behind the Supreme Court.
You're absolutely right. And also, shout out for the Ronald Isley look you got going on. I like that. I got to get my swag up like that.
No. Let me remind you, I'm from Houston, so you know. Plus, we got the boots too, so the black cherry boots. But I'll go ahead and show those.
Hey, don't pull a muscle trying to get the boots on camera. But
no, I think this ain't my first rodeo now. This ain't my. You might pull a muscle grabbing one of those guns under your seat, but I'm just saying.
Well, look, Roland, I think that this is part of why we have to continue monitoring what goes on with these various Trump legal situations, because everyone got distracted by this canard that Trump threw out there that he will be arrested on Tuesday. You know, we saw the entire international news media run behind this fake story. When anybody who's ever worked with the DA knows, they don't tell you what day you're going to get arrested. They don't tell you what day you're going to get indicted. They don't even know because they don't know when the grand jury is going to come back with a decision. So it's a completely made-up story that somehow people, despite a known liar, telling them they still believed it. But in reality, the reason I think Trump did that was for 2 reasons. One, because I think he brought in something like $3 million in fundraising from his MAGA base over the course of the weekend because of the fake story they floated. But 2, because it distracted from cases like this federal case against him, where his lawyers are going to have to come in and testify. It distracts away from Fani Willis in Georgia, where they're talking about RICO charges against Trump for the election interference claim. It distracts away from the Jack Smith Independent Counsel investigation to both Trump's role in January 6th and the documents case in Mar-a-Lago. So I think that what we have to start doing is filtering through a lot of the chaff that Trump throws out there, filtering through a lot of the fake news stories, and then concentrating in on these real stories that have the opportunity to change constitutional history, because we're looking at the first potentially criminal president to be charged with actual federal charges, not a misdemeanor charge in Manhattan, not a very low felony such as a document case or election interference, but the real opportunity that this man could go to jail potentially for the rest of his life for the crimes that he's committed, both while in office and thereafter. And this is why it's crucial that, particularly in outlets like this, we are able to filter through a lot of that BS that's going on in mainstream media and key in on stories like this.
What this here says, Toron, again, is that when you watch all of these Republicans defend this thug in everything that he does, it shows you how literally they do not care about the rule of law. And for federal judges to actually have an attorney testify and say your attorney-client privilege does not apply, that means that's a lot of smoke there from the Department of Justice.
It absolutely does mean that. And to your point about that Republicans don't care about the rule of law, this is something that people really need to understand. The Republican Party and the leadership of the Republican Party, as we know it now, only cares about one thing: power. That's a horrible thing, but it's also it also proves how easy it is for them to rile up their base, because deep down, the people who really control these messages and the people who are supporting this man know that what they're doing is evil, and they know what they're doing is wrong. But if it allows them to keep power, and if it allows them to keep political power in this country, they don't care. That's where I think they sometimes have an advantage over people on the left and progressives, because as a general rule, people on the left and the progressives tend to maybe have more dilemmas about the actions they take. The Republicans have absolutely no dilemmas about any kind of moral ambiguity. If whatever action they take lets them win, they will win. And if supporting Trump gets them to win, they will win. Now, to your point about what this means, I think to the brother's point that spoke before me, that I think we're seeing unprecedented actions being taken against people who have had high levels of political power in this country. If you go all the way back to the Nixon administration, when Watergate happened, Nixon was allowed to resign, and Gerald Ford was able to pardon him instead of Nixon going to trial. And I personally think that was a mistake. I think if Nixon would have went to trial, a lot of the things we saw in Trump with Trump would not have happened 40 years down the road. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. My only fear is I think if something does happen, if he is indicted, I'm really concerned about what his base is going to do. I really feel like his base is going to, whatever they do is going to make January 6th look like a fist fight, like a street fight. That's what concerns me.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment. When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.